Good evening, everyone. You're in the spotlight with Brian Garner for this Thursday, September the 6th, 2018. Good to have you all here for our second of two shows this week. Only I think like the third or fourth time this year that we've had two shows in a week. I think the last time we did it was in January. It's been crazy. But here we are with our second show of the week for the first time in a long, long time. And it's good to have you all here on this Thursday night. We have a lot to do. NFL opening night. We got wrestling. We got entertainment. We got other sports stuff to cover. We have a lot to get to. So let's get into it right now immediately. First, let me remind you all the ways in which you can interact and contribute to our show. Have your voice heard by emailing us at itspotlight411@gmail.com. You can also follow us and tweet us at itspotlight411. Please remember to use the hashtag itspotlight411 for anything to tweet regarding our show. And, of course, you can find us on Facebook. Just search for In the Spotlight 411 on Facebook, and then make sure that you like our fan page once you're on it, once you find it, and then you can interact with us anytime you want. All right. So here we are. Got a lot to do tonight. Again, we got box office beat. We have we have an Oscars topic to get to, which has been percolating in the last couple of weeks. We haven't got a chance to get to it. We'll get to it tonight. We have some wrestling, the potential of Shawn Michaels coming back. We have a lot of stuff to get to there. And then sports, we have MLB, we have NFL getting started tonight. We'll give you a real quick season preview tonight. You know, normally I do like a long. Actually, in the last few times we haven't done a long preview. You know, we haven't done like that huge type kind of preview. We're not gonna do that again. You know, just because I just think it works better when we just do like a quick kind of preview thing. You know, it's just easier that way. And it just works better. So we'll do that. And then we got NFL opening night. Of course, we'll keep you updated on the score throughout the night tonight. Right now, the game started late because they had some weather, some severe weather they had to get through. Right now, Atlanta is charging on the first drive of the game, and they're in the red zone right now here, looking to score a touchdown here. Eagles trying to make a stand here. So we'll keep you up to date again on the score, let you all know how everything's going and what's going on and all that stuff. It's a big night. You know, really, for many people, the sports season right around Labor Day begins. You know, I mean, unless you're a baseball fan, and you know, and I'm a baseball fan, but you know, really, for many people, the sports season ends right around the time NBA Finals ends because they're like, oh, only sport around is baseball, and you know, some people just don't like to check in on baseball until like the World Series and everything, which is in October. And October is really a sports fan's dream because you got the NFL, you got the baseball playoffs, you got the start of the NHL and the NBA seasons, you got college football, you got college basketball, which is starting to get on the way towards the end of the month, but you're getting excited for that season. So it's a good month for sports fans. But yeah, it's a big night because really for many people the sports season begins tonight with the NFL opening night. So it's that huge time of like college football, NFL. This time of year is when people start to get back into sports and get really excited. And so you know, it's a big night. It's a big night, and we'll talk about it. Okay, so you know, we got a lot to get to, but before we get going, we have to mention the passing today of Burt Reynolds at the age of 82 due to a heart attack. Burt Reynolds led one of the more interesting lives that anyone could lead, other than his stellar career in acting. And he had a long career from, you know, Boogie Nights to Deliverance to he was in television series like Gunsmoke, Hawk, Dan August. He had so many roles you can think of. Smokey and the Bandit, the original Longest Yard, and the remake later on. Just such a storied career. Such a storied career, and as an author, he was amazing. And music, he even did a little bit of music. But he had, you know, and he had an affinity for sports too, and he was always so involved in sports. But you know, he also led this glamorous life. You know, he dated the most beautiful women, he had the most adventurous life, and you know, and his career in theater. I mean, his life was just, you know, just an astounding. It really was, and he will be greatly missed. He is an icon. He is a trailblazer, and you know, if you haven't had a chance to read about his life, please do, because it is an amazing life that he led. And you know, when you think about and I think about this, but a lot of people that grew up in the late 90s, early 2000s that won't think of things like this. But when you grew up, you think, when you thought about Hollywood, you thought about the glitz and the glamour and old Hollywood. But Burt Reynolds is one of those last kind of people that in my mind, I personified it. You know, being with the beautiful women, being on the red carpet, you know, the kind of life that he led, how adventurous it was, and how you know, it was so larger than life, what his life was. And that's what, when you think about actors in Hollywood, that's celebrities now, that's what you always thought of. It's what you always thought of, being in that kind of lifestyle, being like that. And he personified that. He really did. So Burt Reynolds, dead at the age of 82 due to a heart attack. May he rest in peace. And our thoughts and our prayers go out to his fans, family, friends. An icon, another icon lost today. A true icon lost today. Obviously, you know, we're going to talk about a lot of things tonight, and you know, nothing is more important than life and death, and you know, somebody passing. But we move on, and we talk about other things, and even though it's hard and uncomfortable to do so whenever you start the show by talking about somebody passing. But we do move on, and we got a lot to talk about. And we'll start off. We'll stay in Hollywood, and we'll stay with the box office. We'll stay with entertainment here, and we'll talk about the box office, because there isn't a lot to talk about there. So we might also get the segment right out of the way here, because other things we have to talk about tonight might take a little longer. Labor Day weekend, you know, again, not something that way back when I was a little kid used to be a big box office weekend. But as we all know, when the summer movie season moved kind of earlier, well, everything got moved earlier, and Labor Day became less and less important to the box office, as did the month of August, really. Back half of August is, you know, actually most of August now is pretty much, you know, a rough month. But yeah, so, you know, Labor Day weekend has become kind of like, you know, the epitome of summer's, you know, kind of like let's see, if you haven't seen something, you know, you go see it. But otherwise, it's a kind of like a lull kind of weekend, a quiet weekend. Well, no matter which way you slice it, the typical weekend numbers or the 4-day weekend numbers, because some people consider 4-day, or the 3-day, I should say, 3-day weekend numbers. Whatever way you slice it, it ended up being not a bad weekend. If you look at traditional weekend numbers, Crazy Rich Asians held strong again for its third week, only dropping 11% to 21.9 million. So you had a movie over 20 million on Labor Day weekend, which is tremendous. And the Meg held strong with only a 17.8% drop off, and it made 10.5 million. Mission Impossible held 13%, came in with 7 million. A movie called Searching from Screen Gems expanded its release. It stars John Cho and Deborah Messing. Did much better than I would have expected with 6 million. Operation Finale debuted with 6 million, which I didn't think it was even possible for that film. Disney's Christopher Robin made over 5 million with 5.2. And so 5 movies over 5 million, 6 movies, I should say, over 5 million for Labor Day weekend. That's very good. That's very good, considering the last few years. Now, there were a couple movies. There was another major movie that opened last week. I won't call it major. Only opened in 2,100 theaters. Kin, that only opened to 3 million. But when you consider how the rest of the box office went, it ends up being more of a positive story than a negative story, not necessarily for Kin, but for the box office as a whole. And when you look at the 4-day numbers, Crazy Rich Asians had a crazy Labor Day. It got a $7 million boost, so ends up for the 4-day making $28.5 million. The Meg gets a nice little boost, ends up making 13.8. Mission Impossible ends up making 9.3. Operation Finale, 7.8. Searching, 7.6. This is Christopher Robin, 7.2. Alpha, 6 million. Black Klansman, 5.6 million. Happy Time Murders, 5.3. And Mile 22 was right under the $5 million mark, as was Incredibles 2 with 4.8 million and 4.7 million, respectively. So, nice boost. So, a lot of people want to see movies on Labor Day, which doesn't always happen. This ain't Columbus Day or Martin Luther King Day or President's Day or whatever. This Labor Day hasn't always been, you know, a good box office day, but this year was pretty good. And all in all, when you take the 3-day numbers, take the 4-day numbers, it tells a very positive story. The box office could have had a bad August. Last year was a bad August. The summer kind of petered out. When we looked at, when we were starting, we talked in July as we were looking at August. Here it comes, the slow petering out of the summer. You know, Mission Impossible, but really, what else do you got? Now, I had mentioned that Crazy Rich Asians had the potential to be a sweeper, but I didn't think it'd do this well. I had mentioned also that the Meg, I thought would be a flop, and ends up being a big hit. You know, so things, you know, ended up being a much more positive nature in August, and it held true through the whole entire month, right into Labor Day weekend. So the box office had a nice boost here, which helped to equal out some of the losses that the box office had this summer, including like Solo and other films. So this ends up, you know, we wrap up the summer here, and I'm not going to go into a long diatribe, but you wrap up the summer here on a very positive note with some good momentum going into the fall. Because you never really had a bad weekend in August. You never did. And that's usually when you start to see it until things kind of build back up in September. There's nothing to build back up. The summer box office is kind of held strong through the end. That's tremendous for Hollywood and for the studios. Tremendous. And it goes to show you that, you know, you can, you know, maybe that's the idea. Put some of these lesser known properties that you're afraid to open up the rest of your, not just the ones that you want to throw away because you already have no faith in them, but ones that you do have some faith in, that you think might strike a chord, and see if you can carry through the end of August. That's what some of these studios did, and it paid off. Don't just toss anything out there and be like, we just want to get rid of this. No. Make an effort. Might be surprised, and some studios got surprised. They really did. Warner Brothers got, I mean, look, with the Meg and Crazy Rich Asians, they had a terrific August. Terrific. So August ends up being a surprise and ends up boosting the summer. And all in all, when you look back at this summer, it ends up being a very solid summer. I mean, look, with Avengers, it was obviously record-breaking. But I mean, it's not like a couple summers ago which was just on another level. But it's a solid, probably really good summer as far as the box office goes. And next year has potential to be even better, I think. So all in all, it ends up being a very positive end to the summer, and ends up being a very positive summer as well overall. And as you turn the page and start to look at the fall, which starts this week, fall box office starts this weekend with 3 new releases. You know, there's less, you know, if you're the box office and you're these studios, you're like, hey, you know what? If it ends up being a bad weekend, we're not that, we're okay with that because we end up having a really good August right through Labor Day. So you have 3 new releases here. The biggest release, The Nun, a horror film from Warner Brothers New Line, opening in 3,876 theaters. James Wan's one of the writers and producers on it. Pretty much an unknown cast, but R-rated, $22 million budget, getting a lot of promotion. You know, getting close to Halloween. Maybe there's, you know, it's been a couple of weeks since a true horror film, an R-rated horror film, and more than that. So, you know, maybe you'll get a nice boost here. We'll see if it can pull in about 20 million or more. I think that'll be fine. Then you have an action thriller called Peppermint from STX Entertainment, opening in 2,980 theaters, also R-rated. Stars Jennifer Garner and John Gallagher Jr., directed by Pierre Morel, who of the Taken franchise. Really good director. Could do well. I mean, again, R-rated, so you have to keep your expectations down. Maybe about 14, 15 minutes, which wouldn't be bad for this time. That's usually what you see from an action thriller this time of year, where something takes off and does better than expected. And really, that's what you get a lot early in September. Horror films, action thrillers, that kind of thing. And that's what you're getting. And then you have a drama from Freestyle Releasing called God Bless the Broken Road, opening in 1,235 theaters. It's from the Christian genre. You know, Christian films have done very well in recent years, so you could see this movie maybe doing about, if the theater count, maybe about 4 or 5 million, maybe a little bit better than that if it takes off. So all in all, this weekend depends on how you think The Nun's going to do. If The Nun pulls in about 20 million, it'll take first place. If it does worse than that, then I think Crazy Rich Asians will take number 1 for the 4th week in a row. By the way, Crazy Rich Asians is the first movie since Avengers Infinity War to win the box office 3 weekends in a row. It's crazy. Movie's done with, you know, I said it would be a sweeper hit, and it's turned out that way. I'm banking on The Nun pulling in about 20 million. So I'm gonna go with The Nun in first place with 20 million. Crazy Rich Asians in second. It's been holding so strong. You gotta think it might hold again. Let's go Crazy Rich Asians in second place for about 16 million, 15, 16 million. Peppermint around 14 in third. Let's see. The Meg, I'm going to go with in fourth, right around 8 or 9. Mission Impossible, right around 6 or 7. Operation Finale, around 5.5, 6. I think everything else will be under 5 million, including God Bless the Broken Rose, again, maybe 4 or 5 million, maybe a little bit over that if you're lucky. So not much to talk about with the box other than the fact that summer ended on a positive note, ends up being a very positive summer. We'll talk more about it in detail down the road in a couple weeks here. Once I can, I'll put everything together and accumulate it. But just a general, overview. Ends up being a very good summer in terms of the box office, and ends on a positive note. And now the fall, if things go like I think they will, we'll start on a positive note. So that's the story at the box office. That's your box office beat report for this week. Not much to talk about, but as the next couple of weeks go along, we'll have more and more to talk about as we approach holiday movie season and so on and so forth. All right, so we have an Oscar topic to talk about, and it's been kind of going, it's been a big source of discussion these last few weeks. A couple of weeks ago, the Academy's Board of Governors approved came out with this plan to institute a new award, several new awards. But I think several new awards. But the biggest thing you took from it was they want to introduce an award for outstanding achievement in popular film. I.e., basically what this is all those blockbusters that keep getting ignored by the Oscars would have a chance to have their own category and get recognized. This led to a huge uproar from two different sides of the equation. Those that think this is a sign that the Oscars are never going to give an equal chance to the movies that make money at the box office, that are popular at the box office. And then the other half of the equation, which is, we don't want them here. That shouldn't be the case. We don't need this. It cheapens the entire awards. Now, look, one of the consistent things that we've talked about on this show over the last 8 years is how elitist the Oscars are. It shouldn't be whether you make money or don't make money or small budget, big budget, whatever. It should be about awarding the best in film, whether it's a movie that made $1 billion or a movie that made a penny, okay? Pick the best films. That's what it should be about. We've said that since day one. So my thing is this. You shouldn't have that award, Popular Film Award. Why? Because those popular films should be included. If they're good enough to be included in a popular film category, chances are they're good enough to be included in Best Picture. Just my opinion. Now, I was one of those people that when they expanded the field to 10 movies, I liked the idea because it allowed for more of those movies to end up in there. I didn't think it was watered down. I didn't think it was a bad idea. I thought it was perfect because I thought you had a good collection of movies. You'd have animated movies. You'd have drama, comedy, big budget, small budget. All movies seem to be represented in those 10 when the few years that they did it. Why can't we go back to that? That was perfect in my estimation. I just think it should be about picking the best in film. And then voting on what you think the best film is. Not stubbing your nose at one kind of film over the other. That's not the way it goes. So I do agree that this was a bad idea. And today it was announced that the Oscars are already backing off on it, that they've delayed the initiation of this award. I don't think they're ever going to put it up because I think the delay, is their way of doing like, hey, no, let's just leave this alone, and eventually we'll just quietly say we're not going to do it. Because they made such a big deal out of it, they don't want to have egg on their face when they announced, so it's easy. So they're going to quietly kind of like back away from it. Now it's just, well, we're postponing the initiation of it indefinitely. But in my mind, I think they're just never going to do it. After the uproar it caused, I think they learned something from this, and they're going to be like, we're not going to do it. So, and I wouldn't. My feeling is this. Yes, the Oscars need a revamp. Yes, they need to award the popular films, not just because you want ratings, not just because they make money and they're popular. No. because if they're good, they deserve to be recognized. That's the bottom line. If you're a good film, it should be recognized. I'm sorry. I don't care how much money you make. I'm not going to sit here and go, well, you know what? Just because they're popular, that means they're better than the art house films. No, they're not. I like small budget films. I like foreign films. I like all kinds of films. They all should be recognized. All of them. All of them. That Best Picture category should be a variety of film. It should be all the same kind of films every single year. And usually it is. And that's how I know they're not doing the right things. But look, you know, it goes to show you, ratings, business, it drives everything. The only time they consider trying to give popular films a chance is when the ratings drop. They did that years ago after the Dark Knight and Wall-E conference. They did the 10 movies, the 10 Best Picture nominees. And then when things calmed down, the ratings were kind of stabilized again. They backed away from it. Now here we are again. They're trying to establish a new category, but it got an uproar. They need to stop reacting to ratings, stop reacting to the profit side of this, and just be about rewarding good movies for the right reasons. That's what they need to do. When they do that, it'll all fall into place, and you'll have an award ceremony worthy of good ratings and worthy of people's attention. That's what they need to do. I keep hoping that every year we're getting closer, because it does seem like we are, but it's like at a snail's pace. It's a snail's pace, you know. They got better with diversity, but now they got to get better with some of these other things. But it's always, Oscars are always moving at a snail's pace. Always. So it's like something that should only take, should be already done, takes 10, 15 years more than it should. And that's a shame, because a lot of movies that should be recognized aren't being recognized. But that's what our film awards are for, right? That's what we always do. That's why we always do them right around the Oscars, because the whole idea is for it to get rid of the ugly taste that the Oscars leave in your mouth. That was the original slogan we had for doing the film awards way back when. So you know what? The Oscars are right to back away from that idea. And again, I think they're backing away as a sign that it's never going to happen. Now that this uproar has been going on, they realize that it's a bad idea. But hopefully that means that there's further revamps coming to improve them, and so that all movies are recognized, not just one kind, or movies that make money or don't make money, or whatever you want to say. Not just the art house films or the small budget films that people forget about, outside of critics. Okay. Hopefully soon we'll be able to include all movies, if they're good enough to be awarded. All right, so we did the Oscar topic, we did the box office. That's all the entertainment stuff we have. For those wondering about when TV highlights and stuff will be back, we'll talk more about that in the coming weeks here. At the end of the show, I didn't put this in the show just because I'm not going to make a lot of announcements tonight. I kind of we'll talk more about that at the end of the show. People wondering about the announcements related to the show, tune in for the end of the show. All right, so that's the end of the entertainment stuff. Now we move on to some wrestling. And I'm going to be very quick with the Raw and SmackDown stuff, because there wasn't a lot that went on Raw. Really, you had, a lot of the furthering of some of the angles that they've been running. The biggest thing was, the Shield getting arrested in the end of the night, when pretty much all the heels pretty much destroyed the Shield, threw Seth Rollins into a police car. I don't know if people noticed, but the guy was bleeding profusely from the arm. So we'll see if something comes of that. Who knows? But that was pretty much the biggest thing on Raw this week, other than, just furthering of the same angles that they've been playing over the last few weeks, except for two things. The big Kevin Owens angle last week, which we all thought was going to turn into something, turned into nothing. This is him going after, interrupting a Jinder Mahal Bobby Lashley segment so he could attack Bobby Lashley, who apparently Kevin Owens going after because he took out Sami Zayn. That was the whole promo last week where he thinks everything went wrong because he don't have his best friend. So we got that feud now, which is just stupid at this point. It's a waste of both guys. One can afford losses, but here we go. So that was one of the big things. And the other big thing, and the biggest thing is the Shawn Michaels Undertaker promo. We all thought Shawn's going out there. We all see the writing on the wall. The guy's going to be like the special guest referee for the Triple H Undertaker match, right? But he gives a promo which basically oozes, I'm coming out of retirement. Undertaker saying, you're staying in retirement out of fear, not because of any promise to me. You get that awesome promo, and then since then, all we hear is all these rumors about Shawn Michaels coming back. And now it's been, according to Dave Meltzer, the Wrestling Observer newsletter, Shawn Michaels is coming out of retirement. The rumor is that he will wrestle at the WWE show in Saudi Arabia on November, I think it's the 5th. And it doesn't look like it's going to be a singles match. It looks like it's going to be some kind of tag match, probably teaming with Triple H against The Undertaker and a partner of his choice. And then there's even rumors that this could lead to a WrestleMania, a third WrestleMania match between Shawn Michaels and The Undertaker. Now, I want you all to keep in mind that this year's WrestleMania will be 10 years since The Undertaker and Shawn Michaels had that first match at Mania at WrestleMania 25. I never thought we would see Shawn wrestle again. I never thought that. But the last year, you've seen him in interviews kind of soften his stance towards whether he would come back or not. He mentions all these guys that he'd be interested in working with, but then he says, you know what? I don't know if I want to do this. If I come back, I might not be able to perform at that high level. The way I left it's a good way to leave it, So he kind of would backtrack. But look, WWE's doing all these international shows now. Maybe he wants to be a part of that. Maybe he sees some of these guys and he just has this itch. Maybe he sees Taker still performing and thinks, hey, you know what? I want to come back and do this. Maybe Taker gave him his blessing. Who knows? Shawn will probably address a lot of this when this gets out, when it becomes official on WWE television. That's when you'll probably get an answer to some of these questions and whether he would do that. But it looks like it's definitely going to happen. I mean, look, when you saw the guy on Monday night, he looked like he was it was in ring shape. So we'll see. This is going to be an interesting thing to see happen. And can you imagine this? Because, everybody thought, Brock Lesnar, we don't know if Brock Lesnar is going to be at WrestleMania. Who knows? UFC, all this stuff. But then you hear that The Rock's is going to work WrestleMania this year, probably being the main event with Roman Reigns. And now you might have Shawn Michaels versus The Undertaker. It's interesting. It's going to be interesting to see how this goes. So that was obviously the big highlight from Raw. Who thought that Raw was going to have any highlights on Labor Day? Because Labor Day is usually a big filler show. But they had some things. Had a couple things. SmackDown, not much. The Becky-Charlotte feud continued to kind of heat up. With a nice little via satellite promo. That was good. The Samoa Joe AJ stuff continued to do very, very well. I don't understand why that match is not in the cell, but I digress. But that feud has gotten really good since SummerSlam. And then some more movement with Jeff Hardy and Randy Orton, and of course Daniel Bryan, The Miz, and Brie Bella and Maurice. So I mean, all in all, ends up it wasn't bad. It was just kind of like progressing things. And speaking of Daniel Bryan, it was made official today. Well, it's announced today, not by WWE, but from a lot of wrestling news sites. Daniel Bryan has officially re-signed with WWE. The contract looks to be made official in the coming days. So not that anybody needed a confirmation on that, but it looks like that's becoming more official now. So, but yeah, so as a whole, I thought Raw was probably more interesting just because of the Shawn Michaels stuff, but SmackDown had some good movement too. So next week is the go-home shows for Raw and SmackDown for Hell in a Cell. So we should see some interesting stuff there next week, I would believe. Oh, and how can I forget? To add to the randomness of Raw, just because that was what it was, a lot of randomness. Drake Maverick with the Authors of Pain, which is just a weird. Drake Maverick's a great manager, and he's done great for 205 Live, but the Authors of Pain and Drake Maverick, him in that gear just didn't look right. But it's one of those things that looks weird, and you wouldn't have thought of it, but you see that there's potential there, and even though it doesn't look exactly right, you're willing to see where it goes. So I mean, it's not a total negative, but it's kind of like, why didn't you just use Paul Ellering? But we'll see where it goes. But that I think that's the best way. Raw had some good, like I said, it had a couple highlights, but I think that's the best way to describe it. Was incredibly random. Because a lot of things just kind of got pulled out of nowhere. And then SmackDown was just kind of progressing what's already been going on. But all in all, not bad this week for both shows. And next week, again, go home shows for the pay-per-views. We'll probably see some good stuff there to set things up for Hell in a Cell. And I think Hell in a Cell is going to be really good. I really do. I think now that you're beyond the Brock Lesnar, like, even though I'm not crazy about the direction that they've gone in with Roman Reigns and the Shield and Braun Strowman, at least things are happening on a weekly basis. The title's on the show, things are happening, and everything's kind of falling into place. And some of these SmackDown feuds have gotten interesting. So I think that, I think that's going to lead to better pay-per-views now. And I really think Hell in a Cell is going to be good. I think you're going to see I think that main event's going to be a pretty big surprise. I really do. I think there's going to be a lot of interesting stuff going on in that main event. And then going forward, as you approach Super Showdown, Evolution, and then Survivor Series, I think you're going to see some interesting stuff coming up. Especially with the Shawn Michaels stuff that we now know is coming. So I know that was quick, but that's the wrestling stuff. That's all we had to get to with that, because a lot of it just kind of folded into the Raw and SmackDown stuff. So yeah, that's the wrestling stuff we have to do. And we have a lot of sports stuff to get to, so that's good that we got through that pretty quick, because we do have a lot of sports stuff to get to. So before we get to the NFL, we got opening night, we got week 1 here coming up. We got a season preview, we got all kinds of things here. Let's do some baseball, because it is September and we only got a few weeks left of the season. I mentioned last week. And really more than last week, over this last month and a half, and I've said this for years now. Where are you on Labor Day? Where are you in the standings on Labor Day? If you're within 5 on Labor Day, you still have a chance at whatever you're going for. If you don't, it's going to be awfully hard. And I said that the next week, I said this last week, the next week was going to be very big for some teams. And it was. I think we got some clarity in terms of the AL standings. I think it's pretty clear now that Boston is going to be the AL East champion. They're not going to blow that lead. That you're running out of games on the schedule if you're the Yankees here. You got your injuries. Yes, you're getting guys back. You got Sanchez back. You're going to get Didi back tomorrow. You're going to get probably Judge back. I'd imagine Judge will be back in like probably around I'm going to say around the 20th of September, around that general area. Chapman will probably be back. But here's the thing, okay? You're getting these guys back, all right? And you made the trade from McCutcheon, which I thought was a great trade. They should have made it 3 weeks ago. It might have helped them a little bit, but it is what it is. And they made the trade for Echeverria too, was helped. But here's the thing. Yes, the Red Sox have still got some tough games on the schedule. Yes, you still have to play them 6 times, but you're 9.5 games back. The Red Sox have played good teams and beaten good teams. Meanwhile, if you're the Yankees, you have played bad teams and lost 2 bad teams. You lost 2 out of 3 to the White Sox. You split with the Tigers 2-2. And now you lost 2 out of 3 to Oakland. Now you can accept the 2 out of 3 to Oakland. They're in the playoff hunt. You cannot accept 2 out of 3 to the White Sox. You cannot accept a split with the Tigers. So you're 9.5 games back. So basically, this is what you need to do. You got to win all 6 games with the Red Sox, which gets you to 6.5 back. Then probably 3.5 back. You have 1 game extra that they don't have, so you can get that. You can wipe that half game off if you win that one. Okay, so that gets you to 3. Somehow you have to pick off 3 games somewhere in between. Stranger things have happened, but that's to me, when you look at what the Red Sox have done, that's an impossible task to ask. And that's assuming you don't lose any more games that they don't on a game they don't win. So again, I think if we could say anything now is the Yankees' chance at the AL East is minuscule at best. So the Red Sox, we know that we already know they're going to make the playoffs. They're going to be the AL East champion. They're going to be the 1 seed. Let's move that one on. Okay, we know Cleveland's going. We don't need to talk about them. All right. Houston has stabilized things. I think now this weekend's very big for Houston here because they are playing the Red Sox. Now, look, that can help the Yankees. The Yankees are going to Seattle. They played Seattle very good at home, but for some reason the Yankees never really played well in Seattle. All right. But let's say, for argument's sake here, the Yankees win all 3 games in Seattle. Okay. Let's say that they do that. And let's say that Red Sox lose at least 2 games to Houston. Okay. So the Yankees are 7. So there's 2 of those 3 games that we talked about that they have to pick up somewhere, right? Then maybe they have a chance. Maybe. But that's asking a lot. But going back to Houston, let's say the flip side of this. Houston loses at least 2 games to the Red Sox while Oakland wins out the weekend. Well, you're back to a game and a half. That race is not over. But what I think Houston has done is stabilize to the point where if they have one more really, really good week, well, Oakland is just kind of average, then I think Houston's going to win the AL West. Seattle has dropped back. In Seattle right now, the Yankees can put Seattle to bed this weekend. And I think they're already to bed, but I think they can put them to bed because they're the team that I think lost out this weekend, as did Tampa. I'll get to them in a minute. Seattle is falling apart. They got worse when Cano came back. They got worse. And sometimes that happens. You get that player back and it messes everything up. And it's not, I'm not saying that, I'm not trying to criticize Cano, but sometimes it does mess things up. But now there's a brawl in their clubhouse. They're losing games left and right. They're 4-6 in their last 10. It's like it's all come apart at the seam. And Seattle has a tendency to do that. We've seen that over the years. They've had a great season. They're 78-62, but they're fading fast. And if Houston and Oakland and the Yankees all continue to win at the clips that they are, Seattle don't have a chance. I think Seattle's put the rest, but the Yankees can put them firmly to rest this weekend in their series starting tomorrow night. So right now, I think we've got, and Tampa, I just mentioned Tampa. Last week I said watch out for Tampa because they were coming. But they've had an awful week. I mean, they're 7-3 in their last 10, but they had no room for error. They're 8 games out. Now look, if Yankees take care of Seattle for them, then they're going to leapfrog Seattle. But Oakland, do you really expect Oakland to blow an 8-game lead? I mean, is it possible? Sure. But they're not playing Houston anymore. They played very well against Seattle. I just don't see Oakland dropping that many games. I really don't. I really don't. And as you look at their schedule, and Oakland's schedule is key. Because they do not play Houston anymore, so they don't have to worry about dealing with them. Now it hurts for their chances of catching Houston, but as you look at their schedule, I'm trying to pull up their schedule here just to see where we're at here. So, because I think I'm trying to think, does Tampa play Houston, Oakland? Because if they do, then Tampa could easily cut into that. Let's see, July, August. All right, so they're playing Texas this weekend. Yeah, they got 3 at Tampa, which Tampa's been tough to beat in their building. All right. So if you look at, let's take the Tampa series out. They got Texas, 3 against Texas at home, 3 at Baltimore, 3 at Tampa Bay, 3 at the Angels, which the Angels have been playing better. 3 against the Angels at home. They've been playing better, the Angels. 3 against Minnesota at home, at Seattle for 3, and then they finish at LA for 3. Angels for 3. It's not a bad schedule. They should make it, but those 3 games against Tampa next weekend. Let's say if Tampa takes all 3. Let's say Tampa gets it down about 6 or 5. I guess it's possible, but I don't see it. I think Tampa hurt themselves this week. I think Seattle hurt themselves this week. I think we've gotten some much needed clarity in the AL. I think it's pretty clear now the positioning is going to be Boston 1, Houston the 2, even though the Yankees have the better record. 3 will be the Indians, 4 will be the Yankees, 5 will be the Oakland A's. And the Yankees will host the A's. I'd imagine, unless the Yankees lose home field, but I don't think they will. The Yankees will host the A's, and the winner of that game, we'll play the Red Sox in the first round, and Houston and Cleveland get each other. So that's the way it's looking in the AL. That's the way it's looking. So I think we've gotten some much-needed clarity in the AL over this last week. Now, there's still some races, and it's not like it's drama-free. But, so I'm not going to call it boring or anything. I mean, but the chances of there being some close series down the stretch in the AL probably took a hit this past week. Now, that's not the case in the NL. The East, the Braves only hold a 3-game lead, thanks to Boston kind of, hurting them this weekend when they got swept. The Cubs hold a 4-game lead on the Brewers, a 4.5-game lead on the Cardinals. The Rockies are only up 1.5 games on the Dodgers and 2 up on the Diamondbacks, so a very close race out west. And then when you look at the wild card race in the NL, which is just tremendous. Brewers have a 0.5-game lead on the Cardinals for the top spot. 2 games back are the Dodgers of the Cardinals. 2.5 back are the Diamondbacks. 4.5 are the Phillies. We now write off the Nationals. We now write off the Pirates and the Giants. All of them are done in their divisions and in the wild card. They're too far back now at 9 to get over all those teams. So, the Phillies, the Diamondbacks, the Dodgers, the Cardinals, the Brewers, those teams in the wild card very much alive, and most of them all still alive in their divisions. So, look, I think the Cubs got the Central. I think 4 games not a lot, but I think that it's more than enough for them to hold on. Braves and Phillies go either way because they're both young. You can see that going back and forth. You can see one of the Phillies usurping the Braves. The West, I'm really shocked that the Rockies have held so strong. I'm surprised the Dodgers or the Diamondbacks haven't overtaken them. I think the Dodgers and the Diamondbacks, it's going to be tough for them. Can you imagine if those 2 teams don't make it? All the moves they made, everything that they did. It's rough. And I'm going to tell you something that I think has been interesting this year. Take a look at the home records for some of these teams this year. The Rockies, 37-30. Better record on the road. The Dodgers, 39-26 at home. Better record on the road. Diamondbacks, 36-32 at home. Better record on the road. That's just in the NL West. When you look at, we can jump to the Braves in the East, 37-34 at home. Better record on the road. Now, the Nationals, I said, are done, but the Nationals, 35-35 at home, 34-36 on the road. So not that much difference there, but the Mets, 20-40 at home, but the Mets are bad, so let's not talk about them. But the Astros, 40-32 at home. Better record on the road. I'm trying to think if anybody else has had this issue. Yeah. So quite a few teams better on the road this year, which is the reason why these teams are struggling to make the playoffs. You have to take care of home field. If you do not take care of home field, you're not making it. Look at the teams that are, Houston's just very lucky, and they've stabilized recently at home. But you look at everybody else; they're barely hanging on. If they're not assuming they're not looking up at like 3 or 4 teams above them. The teams that have the best records are the teams that did well at home. I mean, right now, to me, based on the momentum and the way these teams are playing, I think the NL Central is getting 3 teams into the playoffs. I think you're going to have a Brewer Cardinal wild card game. Could that change? Certainly it could. That's a close race. Obviously, the Dodgers and Diamondbacks are 2.5 back. The Phillies only 4.5 back in the wild card. And obviously, they can jump back into and to the top of the divisions. But based on the way teams are playing, Milwaukee's done a lot to get better. The Cardinals have done a lot to get better. And look at the way they played. They played a lot better than those NL West teams and then the NL East teams. And those NL West teams are going to beat each other up. They got to play each other down the stretch. Same with the Phillies playing the Braves. So the schedules, I mean, I know the Brewers and the Cardinals do too, but still, I think, for both of them to make it, I think the odds are in their favor. So if you had to ask me right now, I'd say the Cubs, the Brewers, and the Cardinals all make it. Brewers and Cardinals are your wild card game. We'll see what happens there. That would be my sense based on how everything's been progressing. Either way, the NL West and the NL Wild Card and possibly the NL East are all going to be very, very good races as we go down the stretch. And maybe even the NL Central if the Cardinals and Brewers can somehow catch the Cubs. That could be interesting too. So while the AL looks like we're starting to position things and we got some clarity there and things are starting to fall into place, the NL is far from that, which is good. You want some drama. You want some compelling playoff races. That's what you want. The last couple years we haven't gotten that, and the AL was starting to lose that chance again. But if we could at least have it in the NL, at least you got it in one of the leagues. So, right now most teams have 20 or so some odd games left. So losing games, you're losing games on the calendar to catch teams. Running out of time. So if you're a team that's more than two games back, you got to get to work. You have very little room for error. It doesn't mean you're out of it, but you have very little room for error, especially if you don't play the teams in front of you. So it's going to be very interesting to see how things develop here in these next 20 or so odd games here, because again, I think there's some good potential drama here, especially on the NL side of things. So that's the story in baseball right now here as we continue to head down the stretch. And as baseball heads down the stretch, the NFL kicks off tonight. And it kicks off with the Eagles and the Falcons from Philadelphia. Again, the game was delayed because of severe weather, but they are off and running now. The Falcons did not get anything on that first drive, but they do have a 3-0 lead right now with 7:43 left in the second quarter, I should say. And they're driving again. I believe they have a second the Eagles are driving. They have a second and goal on the Atlanta 19. So we'll see where that goes. And look, if you've been following the Eagles, they haven't had the best preseason. There's some issues there. Carson Wentz isn't ready. Foles hasn't looked good. They haven't looked good on offense. They haven't looked good. Just people are wondering if it's going to be a Super Bowl slump. All kinds of things. I still think the Eagles are the best team in that division. I do think they're going to be challenged more this year. I think the Giants are going to be better this year. With Pat Shurmur as the coach. They got Saquon Barkley, I think, is a star. Eli, I think, is going to feel better in this offensive system that they have. Odell Beckham Jr. is back and healthy, and he's got his contract, so he's motivated. I think the Giants are going to have a great season, so I think they're going to be the closest competition to the Eagles, but don't sleep on the Cowboys. We know they were in it last year. They were 5-1 in the NFC East last year. So the Cowboys are very much going to be – that NFC East could be a fabulous division to watch. But I do think it'll end up coming down. Philly just tied it right now, so it's 3-3. I do think it's going to come down to the Eagles probably and the Giants. I could see both teams making it. We already got some drama in the form of holdouts. There's obviously some stuff with Khalil Mack, but that's been resolved. He's been traded now to the Bears, which is a huge pickup for them. You got to watch out for them now. They can get their quarterback situation dealt with, and I think they could be a sleeper pick. But Le'Veon Bell and his situation with the Steelers, which has gotten very ugly, where you had guys that last year took restructured their contracts so there'd be money to give him. Well, not, and he said that he'd be there in week 1 to play. Well, he's now not playing. He's still holding out. The team is turned against him. They're trashing him to the press. So I don't even know how he can even go back to that team. So you got that drama. So we don't know how that will affect the Steelers going forward here, who have a game with the Browns on Sunday. And the Browns are acting like it's the Super Bowl. They're throwing everything but the kitchen sink out there. They're starting Tyrod Taylor. They're doing this. They're doing that. The Browns are going all in on trying to knock the Steelers off in week 1 on Sunday. So keep an eye on that game because they're acting like it's the be-all, the end-all that game. And one of the other big themes of this offseason has been young quarterbacks in the draft, from Josh Allen to Sam Darnold. Allen, everybody thought was going to start for the Bills. They trade Tyrod Taylor, and they end up going with Peterman, which I don't understand. But you know what? It's the Bills. What should we understand? Sam Darnold ends up taking over the starting spot for the Jets, which really we all thought was going to happen, assuming he had a decent preseason. They trade Teddy Bridgewater for a draft pick to the Saints. The Saints get a quality backup there now that he's healthy. Bridgewater, we all know, can play. So that's a big move for them. So we'll see how the Jets do. The Jets are going to be very interesting to watch because everybody buys into Sam Darnold. I think the Jets are going to win at least 9 games. I think the Jets are going to be one of those teams that is in it to the end for a wild card fight. We got to say wild card because the Patriots are going to win the division. We all know that. But I think they're going to be in it for a wild card spot. And remember, the AFC is weaker than the NFC. The NFC has a lot of teams that are Super Bowl potential teams. The Eagles, the Giants, even the Cowboys. You can include the Saints, the Rams, who everybody's very high on, including me. Atlanta. A lot of teams in the NFC. There's even a few we haven't mentioned. You got to watch out for the 49ers. We all said at the end of last year that they're going to be a team with a lot of momentum. Look what Go Off-Road did at the end of the season last year. Winning the final 6 games. They're taking some injury hits, but I think they're going to be very much a tough team to play. You got the Vikings as well. You got the Packers and a healthy Aaron Rodgers. And the Bears get Khalil Mack. The NFC is tough. The NFC is very tough. Any one of the teams I mentioned are potential playoff teams or potential, in some cases, potential Super Bowl teams. I'd say the Super Bowl teams are the Saints. Potential Super Bowl teams are the Saints, the Falcons, the Eagles, the Giants, the Cowboys. I'm not going to say the Panthers. Packers, Rams. Rams could do it. Yeah, those would be my 7 out of the NFC. AFC, I would say the Patriots. I don't like the Ravens. I don't like the Steelers. I think the Jags are going to come back down to earth this year. I like the Chiefs a lot. I think they're going to surprise people. I think Mahomes is great. Everybody's been talking him up, but I think it's warranted. I think Mahomes is great. I think they're going to win that division. Denver's down. Oakland, I think, is going to be a mess now that Mac's gone. I honestly could see, believe it or not, I could see the Chargers being that second team in that division, maybe even sneaking in a wild card. Maybe. We'll see. Because that division I think is going to be bad. I think the Chiefs are going to have an easy time winning that division. I really do. Only team I think could even potentially get close to challenge them is maybe the Chargers, and that even is a pipe dream. I don't see the Colts. I think the Texans are going to be better with Deshaun Watson. That division's going to be hard to pick, but if Andrew Luck stays healthy, I think the Colts are better than people are giving them credit for. I think they're good enough to win that division. I don't know if they're good enough to go far in the playoffs, but I think they're good enough to win the division. Um, Obviously Jacksonville with their defense and their grinded out style is going to be a favorite in that division. But again, Deshaun Watson's back, so the Texans are going to be good there. If the Colts stay healthy, they'll be in it. So you got like 3 teams there that you can consider winning that division, maybe getting a wild card. So, but the AFC is so noticeably weaker. I believe the Super Bowl team, excuse me, I believe this year's Super Bowl team is definitely coming out of the NFC this year. I do not think it's going to be an AFC team. Only AFC team that I think has a chance at a Super Bowl is the Patriots. Only one. And if they get there, which I think they will, spoiler alert, I think they're going to lose. I think all these NFC teams, a lot of these NFC teams are better than them. I really believe that. So, I think the NFC is going to be so fun to watch this year. So much drama. Again, so many good teams, particularly the NFC East, and the NFC South, which was a good division last year. I said I think the 49ers are a sweeper. I think the Bears could be a sweeper. Not with Khalil Mack there. And the AFC, I think, I think that the Chargers could be a team, a potential sweeper team. A lot of people are sweeping on the Colts. I don't know if you can really call them a sweeper team, but I guess you can. I think they're better than people give them credit for. So, when it comes down to it, I still think the best teams, if I were to pick the final 4 teams for the conference championship games, in the AFC, I'm going to pick the Patriots. Who will I pick to place the Patriots? Do I pick the Chiefs to go that far? Yeah, I'll pick the Chiefs. Patriots, Chiefs. AFC title game. NFC, I'm going to go with... I like the Giants. God, I can't pick that other team. It could be the Vikings or it could be the Saints. I could see either one of those teams being in there. You know what? I've never been... I like Kirk Cousins a lot, but I've seen him make a lot of mistakes. I'm gonna go with the Saints and the Giants as the NFC Championship game. I picked the Giants to go to the Super Bowl last year and win it. So do I pick Giants Patriots again, or do I go with? Because you don't know what's gonna happen, Drew. But they got Teddy Bridgewater too. So, boy, do I go with the same pick I had last year for the Super Bowl, folks? I knew what I wanted on the AFC side, but I'm still having. I keep going back and forth on the NFC side. You know what? I've done this before, and the second time around, I got it right. A couple years ago, I made this a pick, and it went awry. And then the next year, I picked it again, and it went right. So I'm going to do it. Giants, Patriots, Super Bowl. Giants winning. That's what I'm going to do. That's why I picked last year. Let me stick with because again, they got the running back this year. They got the better coaching this year. So yeah, let's go. Let's do that. Let's do that. Giants, Patriots, Giants winning. And I think it's gonna be a great year. I think hopefully some of the off the field drama doesn't leak into the game again. People can focus just on the game. But I think it's gonna be a great season. I really do. Right now, again, we're watching. You got the Eagles and the Falcons 3-3 with 3 minutes left in the second quarter. So that's a good game there. There's a lot of good games this weekend here for week 1. San Francisco, Minnesota on Fox. I think Bengals Colts is actually a fairly decent game. Buffalo Baltimore is interesting. Jacksonville Giants interesting. Pittsburgh Cleveland I think is interesting, as I mentioned before, because of what Cleveland's putting into it. The Texans and the Patriots. Chiefs and Chargers, because I think the Chargers are going to be in it this year. Dallas and Carolina. Seattle and Denver. I haven't mentioned Seattle. That's another team in the NFC that could do some things. Bears and Packers, which is the Sunday night game, so old school rivalry there. And then Monday night, you got a doubleheader between the Jets and the Lions, and the Rams and the Raiders. Both games, I think, won't be too bad. So, you know, it is week 1, and I didn't put this in the show description, but you had to know I was going to make picks, right? Right? You did. And that's what I'm going to do. So I'm not going to pick tonight. I've done this in the past where I picked the game as I've been watching. We had opening night, but I'm not going to do that this year because I don't think it's fair to do that. So I'm not going to do that. Even though it's one of the best games, but there's plenty of good games this weekend. For a week 1, this is actually one of the better week 1s that I can remember. There's a lot of good games on the docket here. So let's and for those that let's see here. Here we go, 2018 picks. All right, so week 1, here we go. Week 1 picks for the first weekend of the NFL season. We pick 6 games, folks. That's what we do. Except for Thanksgiving week, we do the whole like super duper week. We do like 9, I believe. So, all right, so here we go. Oh, it's 6-3 now, Atlanta, with about almost close to the 2-minute warning for those that are wondering about the score. All right, so let's pick some games here. Let's pick some games from the first window of games. Which is the 1 o'clock window. Lots of good games in the 1 o'clock window. Let's see here. Let's pick those games. All right. Just try to see if I want to go with the first or the second here. All right. I'm going to pick the 49ers and Vikings, 1 o'clock p.m. on Fox. So here's the game. Let me just give you the games you got in the 1 o'clock window. On Sunday. Pittsburgh at Cleveland, 1 o'clock on CBS. Cincinnati at Indianapolis, 1 o'clock on CBS. Tennessee at Miami, 1 o'clock on Fox. San Francisco at Minnesota, 1 o'clock on Fox. Houston at New England, 1 o'clock p.m. on Fox. On CBS, I should say, pardon me. Tampa Bay at New Orleans, 1 o'clock on Fox. Jacksonville at New York, Giants, 1 o'clock on Fox. Buffalo at Baltimore, 1 o'clock on CBS. Again, in Atlanta and Philadelphia at NBC right now. So check that out if you're interested in that. So that's your 1 o'clock window game. So some very good games there in that window. So let's make some picks here. Again, I'm going to pick the 49er game, 49ers Vikings game here. 2 good teams, 2 teams I think are going to be in the playoff hunt. I'm going with Minnesota here because they've always been very, very, and really this is what it comes down to. Minnesota is the better team. They are the better team, all right, and they are at home. And that's 2 things against the 49ers. I think the 49ers are going to be good this year. But the Vikings are better. With Kirk Cousins, they're better. With their defense, they're better. With their running game, they're better. Sometimes the better team is just the better team. And I don't expect anything out of San Francisco other than the fact of winning a potential wild card. So they're going to lose games. They're young, and they're kind of banged up in defense with their secondary. So I think that's going to hurt them in a game like this. I like Minnesota over the 49ers here. Next up, Houston at New England. The Texans have always had better luck with New England in in Houston. When it gets to the Patriots at New England, never good. Never good. Now, New England has sometimes gotten beaten early in the seasons. They're hard to beat in December in New England. But early in the season, you can get them. So I think this game will end up being a little closer than it would be if it was, say, November, December. But I still like New England here to beat the Texans. So New England over Houston. All right. Next up, Jacksonville at the Giants. Interesting game. Giants are not that defensive-oriented team anymore. Their defense isn't bad. They still rely on putting pressure on the quarterback. They're more of an offensive team. They have a lot of offensive firepower. So it's the offense of the Giants versus the defense of the Jags. What's going to win out? Well, I'm betting on the offense because they are in New York. They're trying to make a statement. I like the Giants over the Jaguars this Sunday. Okay. So we got 3 more picks. I'm not going with that one. Dallas okay, now we got let's go to the 4 o'clock window of games. So here's your 4 o'clock window. Kansas City at the LA Chargers, 4:05 on CBS. Seattle at Denver, 4:25 Fox. Washington at Arizona, 4:25 on Fox. Dallas at Carolina, 4:25 on Fox. Dallas, Carolina is the game we're going to pick. I'm not as high on Carolina as I've been in years past. I think they got some issues, especially on offense. Cam gets banged up. I think they're going to be really, really shut down. I like Dallas's defense, and obviously I like the quarterback. So with Dallas's defense, and with the idea that I think offensively they're just more stable than Carolina, I like Dallas over Carolina in week 1, even though they're on the road. One, two, three, four. So we got 2 more picks to make. All right, I'm going to pick the Sunday night game because I always do, and I'm going to pick one of the Monday night games. So the Sunday night game is Chicago at Green Bay, 8:20 p.m. on NBC. This one's an easy pick for me. I hate to pick an easy game, but I don't think it's going to be as easy as it would have been a couple weeks ago because they got Khalil Mack now. But I like Green Bay over Chicago, even though Chicago's defense is going to be, in my mind, back with the addition of Mack. I like Green Bay all around. They're healthy. They're back. They got some options on offense for Aaron Rodgers. I think their defense is better. I like Green Bay over Chicago on Sunday Night Football. And then the Monday Night Football game I'm going to pick because there is 2. It's the traditional Week 1 doubleheader on Monday night. The first game is New York Jets at the Lions, 7:10 on ESPN. Second game, the LA Rams at the Oakland Raiders, 10:15 on ESPN. The game I'm going to pick is the first game, the Jets at the Lions. The Lions still not a bad team, but they still are not good enough to make that big jump, that big ascension to being that potential team that can go far into January. The Jets, I think, are going to be much improved. I'm really looking forward to seeing Sam Darnold. This is a matchup I think could favor Sam Darnold because the Detroit Lions defense leaves a lot to be desired, and it's a dome environment, which I think could be conducive for him to throw a good game. I like the Jets over the Lions in this game. So Jets over Detroit here in week 1. So here is your pick 6 NFL picks for the first week of the NFL season. Minnesota over San Francisco, New England over Houston, New York Giants over Jacksonville, Dallas over Carolina, Green Bay over Chicago, and the New York Jets over Detroit. Those are your week 1 picks. Now, we didn't do this last year, but we're going to do this year just for fun. Over-unders. I love over-unders. I haven't done them for a lot of sports in a while, but I'm going to go back to doing them, starting with the NFL. So over-unders. So what the over-unders are, for those that do not know, depending on how many you want to pick, and we're going to do 6. I like to do 6. I think 6 is a good number. 3 overs, 3 unders. So what you do is you pick 6 teams. Okay, and whatever they did, so let's say you pick Green Bay, and let's say I gotta look up the records here. Green Bay had 7 wins last year. You either pick over under. If you think they're gonna be over 7 wins, you pick them as an over. If you think they're gonna be under 7 wins, you pick them as an under. That's how it works. For those that do not know, so this relies on me having to look up the 2017 records for some of these teams. So that's what I'm going to do right now. Just to see what I want to do for over-unders here. So, So for last year, these are your okay. So we're gonna do over on, and you try to pick teams that are hard. Don't just pick the Patriots. And go, oh, I think they're gonna be over 13. Don't pick the easy ones. You want to pick ones that are kind of interesting. So all right. So I'm gonna pick. Let's do my. We're gonna do. I'll do an over, then I'll do an under, then an over, then an under, then an over, then an under. Now it's easy. I think the Jets are gonna be better. So it's easy to say Jets are gonna be over 5 wins. So I'm not gonna pick that one. All right, my first one's going to be an under. I'm going to go with the Bills. Under 9. That's my first one. So now I got to pick an over. I'm going to have some fun. No, that one's easy because the Browns are going to win a game this year. I'm not going to do that one. I was going to do Browns over 0 because they didn't win a game last year. But that's a cheap one. We're not going to do that one. We're not going to do that one. I'm going to get mad about that. This is for me even trying to do that one. Oh, I was right. The Packers did have. Wow, my memory is really good. The Packers did have 7 wins last year. That was wow. That was good on my part. What's a good over? You know what's going to be? The Rams won 11 games last year. Let's go with the Rams because that's asking a lot to ask them to be over 11 games. Let's go with the Rams over 11 wins. Because that is asking a lot. I know that seems like it's a predictable choice, but ask them to do over 11 wins in the FC. That's asking a lot. So I'm going with the Rams over 11. Okay, so now I need an under. I need an under. Okay, what's a good under? I like the Lions, and I think they're a decent team. Let's go with the Lions under. Under 9. You have to pick a couple. You have to pick at least one safe one. That seems like a safe bet given how good the NFC is. It's 90 and over. What's a risky over? I need a risky over. Well, I already picked an easy under. So I should pick an easy over just to match it up, I guess. Chiefs over 10. That'll be my easy over. Chiefs over 10. All right, so I need 2 more. 1 more under and 1 more over. So what's my last under? Make it a good one. Raiders at under 6 is too easy. Way too easy. You know what? I hate to do this because I already picked one from this division, but I'm going to do this. Patriots under 13. Under 13. I think the NFC is weak. I could see it being a good enough to potentially take a couple wins. So let's go. That's a risky one because the Patriots are always usually around 12, 13 wins. So let's go Patriots under 13. And I need 1 more over. I said Rams over 11. Packers over 7 is too easy. Saints over 11. You know what? Let's see. So, all right. The Vikings are going to be over 13. I'll go with the Falcons over 10. I think they can still get that done, even in a tough NFC. So Falcons over 10. So over-unders. Bills under 9 wins. Rams over 11 wins. Lions under 9 wins. Chiefs over 10 wins. Patriots under 13 wins. And the Falcons over 10 wins. And you already heard my conference championship and Super Bowl picks. So we did all the picks that we have to do for the beginning of the season and for week 1. So, and I know that was kind of a quick season overview, but again, I don't like doing the long season overviews anymore with any of these leagues. I think we used to do full shows on them, and I just think it takes too long, and it's just not good. So I don't do it anymore. Just do a quick kind of thing, kind of making some picks and stuff. That's really all we do now. I think it works better. If you ask me for what I think the NL MVP is going to be, I think if Aaron Rodgers stays healthy, I think it's either Aaron Rodgers, Tom Brady, obviously Brady's always in it, or Drew Brees. I think it's one of those three. One of those three. I know that's easy pickings, but that's usually what it is in NFL sometimes. It's usually a quarterback, and it's usually some of the top tier guys. But like I said, I think it's going to be a great season. I think there's going to be some compelling storylines. Hopefully all the focus stays on the field, and we can focus on the football and all that kind of stuff. And, we'll see how it goes. I think, like I said, I think the NFC is going to be very strong. A lot of teams that are good potential playoff teams, and there are quite a few teams that are potential Super Bowl teams. The AFC, I think, will be weaker, but I still think it'll have its share of good teams and interesting storylines, compelling matchups. I think it's going to be a great season. I think it'll be better than last season. And I think some teams got smart. We'll talk about this next week. Some teams got smart by not playing a lot of their guys, in the preseason. So, but they played them enough to get them, to make sure that they're acclimated and they know what they're doing. I think you're going to see much better quality of play early in the season than we've seen the last 3-4 years. I like the balance that these coaches did in the preseason of, making sure guys played enough to get the rust off, but not so much that they were drained and it was a hard start to the season for them. So I think you're going to see a much better start to the season in terms of quality of play than you have in years past. And that alone will make the season better. So should be interesting. Should definitely be interesting. Now, a lot of people ask me about college football. You don't do college football picks. You don't talk college football. No, we don't. We make picks when we get to the bowl season. But what I do every week is when I look at during the college football seasons, I look at the games and I look back at last week and look ahead and kind of give you all a general sense of what happened and what was the big headlines and, look ahead to the upcoming week. And honestly, if you look back at the first week of college football, other than the LSU Miami upset, which was a pretty big one, there wasn't anything of interest. Notre Dame beat Michigan. Appalachian State almost put off another big upset. But other than that, there was nothing. And even LSU Miami wasn't that big of an upset because everybody thought LSU was a decent enough team to be able to knock off Miami. So it was nothing earth-shattering in week 1. That's why there's not much to talk about week 1. But what I just mentioned, and really, even that isn't much. Week 2, is there anything good, interesting in week 2? Not really. I'm looking at the slate of games. I don't see much interesting. Georgia, South Carolina is not too bad of a game at 3:30 p.m. on CBS on Saturday. Not a bad game. Rutgers, Ohio State at 3:30 on Saturday might actually be entertaining. We'll see. Clemson, Texas A&M at 7 o'clock on ESPN might be okay. Not great. UFC Stanford is an interesting game at 8:30 p.m. Eastern on Fox on Saturday. That one might be worth the watch. That might be the best game on the board. I like USC there though, to be honest. But yeah, not a whole lot. Nothing much of interest. So, people want me to talk college football. Not much to talk about. Not much went on last week. A few things, as I mentioned, but nothing earth-shattering. And what's to talk about week 2? Not much. Not a lot of good matchups. Not a lot of big storylines. So, can't talk about something if there's not a lot to talk about. So, yeah. People want me. A couple people mentioned to me about the Ryder Cup, and Tiger and Phil both made it as well. Why just no duh. It's the right thing. It's gonna be interesting. It's gonna be fun to watch. So that's all I can really say about it. I'm glad they both made it, and I think it's gonna be fun to watch. And a lot of people talk about this big Tiger Phil matchup thing in November. I look. I don't mind it. I think it's got some pop to it. I think it'll be okay. I know people think it's something, a lot of golf purists don't like it, but you know what? I like it. I think it's going to help. People always put these guys against each other, had these guys face off. So why not do it? Why not? So I don't have an issue with it. So, all right. So I think we pretty much covered everything that we have to cover, including some things I didn't put in the show description that I decided to toss out there because people have been asking me about them. So with that being said, and everything's done, and when everything's done, why drag things out, right? Let's get going. Let's wind down here. As always, the show might be yours. Does not mean you have to stop interacting, contributing to our show. Continue to have your voice heard. Send us your feedback, your questions about the show, scheduling the show, topic ideas, breaking news items you want us to cover about entertainment, wrestling, or sports. Again, questions about the show and the scheduling of the show, topic ideas, breaking news items, reactions, comments, opinions, things we talked about on the show, anything we talked, things we said. Any of these things we do by email, Facebook, and Twitter. You can email us at itspotlight411@gmail.com. You can also follow us and tweet us at itspotlight411. Remember, hashtag itspotlight411 is what you want to use when tweeting regarding our show. And, of course, you can find us on Facebook. Just search for In the Spotlight 411 on Facebook, and then make sure that you like our fan page once you find it or once you're on it. Please, again, follow us on social media. You have access to everything related to our show. Any updates on scheduling and postponements or delays. Any other random things we post, anything else we post related to the show. If you want access to all that and more, make sure that you follow us on social media. Again, on Twitter at itspotlight411. Remember to use the hashtag itspotlight411 for anything you tweet regarding the show. And again, on Facebook, just search for In the Spotlight 411 on Facebook, and make sure you like our page so you can follow us. If you'd like to keep up with the show or look back at classic episodes, you have two ways in which to do that. You can either stream us anytime on Google Plus and YouTube. Just search In the Spotlight 411 on both those sites. And when you do, you'll be taking our show pages on both sites, where you'll have access to every episode we ever produced for Google Plus and YouTube. It's every episode from mid-October 2015, all after tonight's current episode. Those episodes are available for you to stream anytime you want on Google Plus and YouTube. Just search for In the Spotlight 411. If streaming's not your thing, maybe you prefer to listen to us on the go, or maybe instant older episodes of the show. If any of that applies to you, check us out on our main host sites, Podbean and iTunes, to search for In the Spotlight 411. And when you do, you'll be taken to our show pages on both sites, where you'll have access to every episode we produced in the nearly 8 years we've been doing the show. So every episode from our original Blog Talk radio run from October 2010 to January 2011, all of our talk show episodes from January 2011 all the way up to mid-October of 2015, and all of our Google Plus and YouTube episodes mid-October 2015, all after tonight's current episode, all transferred into audio format for your convenience. All episodes in audio format for your convenience, from the most recent episode, that being tonight, all the way to our first episode way back in October 2010. They're all listed there in that order, from the most recent, that being tonight, to the oldest way back in October 2010. You can listen to them anytime you want. Maybe a long-time fan wants to check out an episode from way back when again, or a new fan wants to check out an episode from way back when for the first time, or keep up with recent episodes, or whatever you want to do. You can do all that and more on our main host sites, Podbean and iTunes. Just search for In the Spotlight 411. Again, just search for In the Spotlight 411 on Podbean and iTunes. So Google Plus, YouTube, Podbean, iTunes. Again, Google Plus, YouTube, Podbean, iTunes, your ways to keep up with the show and look back at classic episodes. Search for In the Spotlight 411. Again, just search for In the Spotlight 411. Again, as we wind down here, a shout out to my co-host Mike. Hopefully he'll be back soon in the coming weeks. Hopefully everything continues to get better for him, and we wish him well. So shout out to him. Thank myself for our great show, pat myself back, and thank all of you for your continued support and contributions to the show. Thank you so much for watching, and to those that will be watching or listening to this later, thank you to you as well. We are done for tonight and done for this week. I mentioned over the last couple of shows that we'd be making some announcements related to the show. I put it off a couple times. I know it annoys people. I'm putting it off again for one reason only, because we haven't been able to finalize a couple of things. They should be finalized by Tuesday. So by Tuesday, we should know. We should be able to tell you all what's going on and what we're going to be doing in the coming weeks here, so you all know what's happening. So So, and then I can address a lot of things from whether we're going to have a co-host or not to what's going to be going on, what's going to be, because people know things are going to be changing and people know something's up and we got to talk about it. The show's not going anywhere, but it's going to be different and it's going to be a lot to kind of take in, but I think people are going to really enjoy where we're going. So hopefully I didn't have, hopefully that's the case. And, we'll get into all that on Tuesday. And, I think, yeah, we'll get into all of it on Tuesday. One thing I do want to mention, though, start on Tuesday, and I'm not going to get into it. We're doing 2 shows next week. I think we are, but we'll see. Tuesday, this coming Tuesday, our next show, one thing that people have been on my case about, and I think most people have been very patient, but, they have a right to not be patient as well. We've been, for the last maybe year or two, we've been chronically late on the show. We put 9 o'clock to Eastern as a show time, and we never hit it. So, starting with Tuesday's show, and I'm not saying this is a permanent change. We'll get into that again on Tuesday. But with Tuesday's show, we're going to start at 10 o'clock p.m. I'm just going to come right out and tell you 10 o'clock p.m. Eastern time on Tuesday is the start time for our show. So that will be the time of our next show, 10 o'clock p.m. Eastern time this coming Tuesday, which is September the 11th. Obviously, important day in our history, but and we always remember that. But yeah, Tuesday, 10 o'clock Eastern time. That is the time for our show. So please do keep that in mind. And then we'll get into whether we're going to have another show next week and everything else on Tuesday's show. And one more last thing, again, to those of you that were involved or participated or even just tuned in to the In the Spotlight TV Awards last week, on Tuesday, I should say, thank you for all that you did, and thank you for participating and for joining us and for watching and for listening. It was a tremendous success, and that's because of all of you, so thank you. I mentioned that there was going to be some statistics that I'd get into and talk about and related to the awards. We'll get into all that on Tuesday as well. I just didn't want to get into it tonight because there was a lot of things we had to do and didn't seem like the right time to do it. So we'll get into all that on Tuesday. So until Tuesday, I hope you have a great rest of your night, a great weekend, and a great start to week next week. We'll see you back here for our next show this coming Tuesday night, September 11th. Remember, at a new time, or at least for Tuesday, a new time, 10 o'clock p.m. Eastern time. So again, this Tuesday at 10 o'clock p.m. Eastern time, our next show, we'll talk NFL, week 1. We'll get into all that, college football. We'll even do a little bit of that, baseball, wrestling, whatever. We'll do all of it. Or maybe we won't. We'll see. But we'll at least do the sports stuff. But we'll get into all that on Tuesday. So until Tuesday, have a great weekend, everybody. We'll see you back here this coming Tuesday night, September 11th at 10 o'clock p.m. Eastern time. Until then, have a good night, everybody. See you on Tuesday.